Welcome back to the Meta Minds podcast, where we help you master your mindset. My name's Dan. I'm a fully qualified counselor.
And my name's Eamon, and I'm a video marketer.
And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about pleasure seeking and how it might be destroying your life. And it might be destroying your life without you even knowing it. It's like pleasure is seen as kind of I guess there's positive connotations to the word pleasure, but potentially it could be destroying your life. So we'll dive into that a little bit deeper today. But before we start, we are Audible affiliates. I know they said Amazon affiliates. Almost. It's the same company. So if you want a free book on us, then use the link in the description below to sign up, and everyone wins. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it. So to kind of give some context, basically what we're going to talk about is initially we're going to set up kind of why we have these kind of primal urges to seek pleasure, because it's kind of one of our fundamental, it's like basically the reason that we're here is to seek these pleasures because they give us these ultimate rewards. I'll stop giving it all away. Mm-hmm. But so we're going to dive into that and then contextualize that into the modern day because our brains kind of haven't really adapted, and then give some tips on how to actually kind of overcome and see this pleasure seeking when it's arising and when it's happening, because we notice ourselves are definitely pleasure seekers, and this is why I'm making this episode for future us to look back on and go, oh, I'm doing that thing again.
Yep.
So that we can learn, and maybe some other people can learn in the process. So let's kick it off with some primal psychology.
Yep.
We have an episode on this. If you want to dive deeper into this, you can check that out. It's one of our earlier ones. That was a really good one. But, a lot of the stuff that we talk about, the self-development-y stuff, basically, if you understand the initial kind of primal psychology and like the biology of why things are the way they are, why we act the way we act, then it's much easier to kind of, shape and maneuver your life around that, because you understand why you were actually doing particular things, and it's completely out of your control,
Exactly right, yeah. Like if you just look at evolution and look at, we're still we're only slightly modernized apes as such. So all of those things that we had in the past, whether that's, reproduction or eating foods that are high in, fats or sugars or whatever it may be, all of those things evolution takes a very long time to pass through generations. So we're still on the cusp of that kind of concept where we are still seeking these pleasures.
And the internet's 30 years old? So technology is moving so quickly, and our brains definitely have not adapted to this environment, which is really interesting. So to dive into that a little bit deeper, it's interesting. I actually listened to a book recently. I really love this book, and it's called Why Buddhism is True. Mm-hmm. Really fantastic book. And, if you guys are into any kind of mindfulness or Buddhism, anything like that, basically he contextualizes the whole thing in this whole primal realm, basically. But he does kick it off a lot by talking about pleasure seeking, essentially. And it's one of our main functions, because it's like, as I mentioned, when you actually seek that pleasure and you get that reward, it's generally this is why sex feels so good, and this is why everyone feels great when they have sex, because it's obviously the connection element as well, but it's signaling to you that this is a positive thing that you should do, because it means that you are going to survive, more of your people are going to survive, and this is kind of how life works, essentially.
That's it, and you will pass your genes on to another generation, which is again a primal need.
Exactly. And so similarly with sugar, you mentioned apples there. It's they would be much more far and few and far. How does that saying work? I don't know.
Whatever you said.
Between.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be as commonly come across and just pick an apple off a tree like Adam and Eve. You'd be running around trying to kill and pick berries and whatever. So sugar wasn't as readily available as it is today. And so again, that's a pleasure that when you had it, that was signaling to your brain that it's oh, I don't get this often. So when I do get it, I need to eat as much of it as possible, and also carbohydrates as well, so that I can, stay alive and get some of this quick energy so that I can continue through my day. But now sugar is absolutely everywhere and really readily available. So what are some other things that are that pleasure seeking? I suppose we've got sex, we've got food.
We have got status, maybe? Kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess we've spoken about that before.
Yeah, for sure. So that, social, because it's if you're in a high status or whatever, that's obviously maybe not directly pleasure.
No, but pleasure would be associated potentially with that role. Yeah. If you're in a higher position and you have more power.
I always think about it in the actual context of caveman. So I just have this image of my mind. It's just this one cave, and it's like not complete, it's got a little door to it, but it's like not, it's pretty open kind of thing. There's all these people with like leopard print, like half cut out, they're standing around, and one caveman's on a big rock, and he's like, ooh, and everyone's like, ooh, it's like, oh,
that's
God.
Society now, though, really, when you think about it.
Well, actually, it is, and this is partly why this is so funny, because we haven't evolved as much. That's the whole reason that we're talking about this, right? Is that it's like, it's so funny that it's like we think we're these, new age like humans, and we're so modern and we wear glasses and whatever, but it's like we're pretty basic.
For sure.
And this is why it's important to kind of understand this pleasure seeking thing, because it's like that wasn't that long ago when we were those. I mean, it was pretty long ago, but it wasn't that long ago when we were these apes. And so back to the social status things. It's like everyone in the tribe, like one ape like bashes to death a lion, and everyone's like, he's good, and that guy's like, I'm good.
I'm good. Yeah.
And then he sleeps with all the women and eats all the apples. So you're right. Social is definitely another kind of pleasure-seeking element of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like in terms of the evolution that I touched on before, if you look at a lot of species in the wild, it takes them like thousands of generations for some sort of defect to be like bred out, for example. So like we mentioned with the internet, it's in its infancy. It's only had 30 years. So our brains haven't actually developed enough to like, we haven't evolved enough for the internet age and for the tech age. So I guess in terms of that, like it's so new and still novel for so many people that we just dive into it without even thinking about the effect that it could have on our mental health. And that's something that I definitely have noticed recently with like phone use as well. So it's interesting because like I don't think anyone can avoid it. Like there's so many pleasurable opportunities. You just look at advertisements. You watch like 4 advertisements, you'll see they're all trying to, which we've touched on before, they're trying to tap into our primal psychology, and it's either, reproduction, sex, status, money, food, like whatever it is, they know that. Like, and when I say they, like marketers and people who are making a lot of money through primal psychology, they know that that's what we're going to react to, whether subconsciously or consciously. So yeah, I guess it's hard to like monitor it all the time, obviously, because it just can sneak in, and subconsciously you can do something that is a pleasure-seeking act. But I think it's just important to be aware of it and try to like have balance with it. Same with everything in our life. For
sure. So like that's like the main point of this episode. If you click off right after this, it's fine. But basically the main thing is, because we haven't adapted to this day and age, pleasure is absolutely everywhere and very readily available, and you are most likely participating in a lot of pleasure activities, and you're most likely seeking a lot of pleasure without you even being aware of it.
Exactly.
Hopefully hearing that will make you listen to the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, so for example, that the internet thing, and it's like, this is why so many, I don't know if our listeners do this as well, but I binge a lot of like YouTubers that do these 30-day challenges and that kind of thing, and seeing a lot of these dopamine fasts kind of pop up recently. So that's like socials, and even like TV and music, like these stimulate dopamine, which gives you pleasure. Like when you listen to music and you get your hair raised in your arms, that's pleasure. That's a drug. Like maybe not technically a drug, but it's like chemicals are happening in your brain when you listen to music. I'm not bashing music, okay? Don't come at me, guys. Don't come at me. I love myself some music.
Yeah.
But I right now am doing a 30-day challenge. You can check it out on my YouTube channel, Eamon Bebendorf. Just search it. Sorry for pushing this. Okay. But yeah, so that's going to be up pretty soon. But I'm halfway through that right now. And boy, is it damn hard. And this is partly why this pleasure-seeking thing is so relevant, because it's like, spending a lot of time trying to minimize like usage of music and these apps on our phone, which is so easy to just like, you're doing something and then you forget for a second, and you pick up your phone and you're like 5 pages deep on Instagram, and you don't even realize.
Yeah, for
it's just so readily available for us, and that's the like huge problem in society right now. That's why obesity is a crazy pandemic as such, or whatever, and this is why that
people are addicted to social media and video games.
Yeah,
so that's actually classed as an addiction now.
Yeah, it's that social status thing that you're seeking. A lot of people will seek that and get all these likes or whatever. And this is why you get really anxious when you compare yourself to other people, because, again, back to that caveman tribe, you could compare yourself to Cindy. I don't know why Cindy would be called a caveman, but let's run with it, okay?
Yeah.
And, Cindy maybe has 2 more apples than you. And, like, that's, like, the hugest, like, social status. But now you go on Instagram, you see someone with 4 million followers and your heart starts pumping because there's no way that you can actually compare to that.
Yeah.
We're not biologically prepared for that.
Well, that's exactly right. Imagine 4 million apples in a room. Like, that's overwhelming.
You'd be like, Cindy, man, I don't know how you got to them apples, but
but I'm not happy about it.
We see you just walk over and bash Cindy to death and take her apples.
There you go. Yeah.
But that's morally wrong in today's age as well. Like, whatever. Look, we're not here to discuss if you can kill people or not. Okay.
Yes.
If in your own time you do that, that's fine by me. No, we're getting off topic. Being a bit silly. We haven't done an episode without a guest for a while.
No, I know.
And we often don't get to be as silly with guests on. So bring it back to the normal and be a bit more silly.
Well, that's it. Why not, dude?
Have some fun.
Have some pleasure.
Self-development with a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just us pleasure seeking, dude.
Well, the podcast is a form of pleasure seeking.
There you go. But yeah, so back to it all. Like, I want to pose the question to the listeners. It's like, now that you've kind of heard this and, maybe you're very aware of this already, but it's like, do you seek pleasure in your own life? And take a step back. And it's like, partly why we're talking about this is because it's like, as I said, it's really important for us to kind of recognize, but also really important for everybody to recognize, because it's like the question that you should ask yourself is that when you are doing an activity where you're pleasure seeking, or doing an activity where you're getting pleasure or a big hit of dopamine, such as just scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, did you earn this? Because back to the biological thing, when you have sex with one of the women in your caveman tribe, chances are it's because you have killed dinner for the tribe, and the woman is like, oh, I would need to be with that man because he's high value, because he provides food for the clan. So he earned that pleasure and then was able to reproduce because he worked for it. Whereas in this day and age, we were talking about it before the podcast, but porn is a great example in that so you can go and get that hit basically without actually doing anything to earn it, and that's probably a really prominent one. But it's the same with everything. Food. You can go and get sugary donuts, glazed donuts, and damn, they're good.
Yeah, exactly.
But did you earn those apples?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's the question that you really should ask yourself when you take a step back. It's like, I'm getting this pleasure right now, but did I actually work for this pleasure? Work for it? Because if not, that's can be a huge problem. And if you keep doing that, then when you actually don't do it for a while, which is what I've just kind of done, you kind of really realize that when you do it, you get this big hit, and you're like, this is brain's real powerful. And
for sure, yeah.
Keep you in that trap.
And like for the people out there who do, regularly scroll through Facebook or whatever it may be, like it can get to the point that it's so conditioned into us that it is normal that you probably won't even notice any like physiological reaction. Maybe like you said that, the dopamine hit is massive for you now after, like in stark contrast to not having these dopamine high activities for a long time. But for people out there, and I'm involved in that as well, I'm not exempt from this. When I'm scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, it doesn't feel like a dopamine hit. Like I'm not recognizing it because it's so normal, right?
That's it.
A lot of people would be in the same boat. Like you're doing it not thinking that this is detrimental or that it's bad for you, but like you said, when you have that stark contrast and you do cut away from it for a bit, like you will notice it then. But it's so normalized, like you see so many people on their phones out at dinner. When you're at home, everyone's on their phone. When you're with family, like everyone's on their phone. And yeah, I think, like we mentioned, I think it was episode 4 with the social media thing. It comes back to that, where you just need to try to be a bit more aware of what you're doing. And like I mentioned to you before, I have found myself diving into this like pleasure-seeking realm just from thinking that I'm being productive and thinking like, okay, well, I need to do this on Instagram. I need to, post on Facebook or whatever. But then I'll kind of get caught into that trap of like, oh, well, I'll go through notifications and I'll check this as well. And then I kind of just get lost into this loop of like, what am I really doing with my time?
It's true, guys. Dan's a hard.
I'm a serial social media addict.
His TikTok and everything. You're all over it.
Exactly. And it's become like really, really obvious to me the last couple of weeks that it's an addiction. Like I'm back into that addicted state, and I really am not happy about that. And I found myself like being a bit resistant to trying to take away from it a little bit, because in my head I've justified it as like, well, I'm doing something productive. I'm not just scrolling pointlessly, but there's bleeding between the two. Like when I'm doing something productive, I'm not doing that 24 hours. I may be doing something productive posting on Instagram, but then like you said, you kind of get caught into the scroll as such. Like I'm then on Instagram. So even though I've posted something, I might scroll for a bit, and then I'll go to another app. And it's like, I've justified in my head as this is productive, but I haven't really earned that. Like, just because I've posted one thing on Instagram, why am I then just consumed by social media then? And I've kind of found that coming in a little bit more in my life. So like, that's something I really need to assess personally, because it has become a problem and I've really recognized it. But, you know, I've never really had like a cleanse like you've done. And it still kind of feels normal. Like I still justify it as like a normal process. Like, you know, I go on Instagram every day. I go on Facebook every day. And so many people out there would be the same. Like it's just commonplace. You load up your phone, you go on there. And yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to get at, but it's just, it can happen to anyone and you can justify it in any way. You know, even if you are productive and you're trying to post, you can then dive back into that realm of just
so quickly
negative energy, really.
Because I'm still going on Instagram to actually post things, but then I get off it and delete the app, you know, so it's like I reinstall it or whatever. And as soon as you post, you're going through it and you start scrolling and you just get sucked into it. And this is the other thing. It's not only like, oh, you know, it's all readily available. It's not only that it's readily available, it's that a lot of these things like Facebook and Instagram are attacking your attention, trying to get your attention, you know, all the time. So it's like, you not only have to like see your self-awareness and be like, oh man, I'm doing that thing, but it's actually even harder because there's like this trap that's got its claws in you, like Instagram thing. And it's so funny because it's kind of this Benjamin Hardy thing where it's like 100% off, 100% on. We had a podcast with him, guys, check that out. There's like, that's actually changed my life. And I've really been thinking a lot about his theories in my day-to-day. But for example, and I'm going to call you out here, we're playing video games the other night. I was at my house and you were here or whatever. And in between a game, he said, oh, so Eamon, what do you do in between games? And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm just sitting here talking to you, man. And I was like, what do you do in between games? And you're like, oh, yeah, I'm on Instagram or I'm making a YouTube ad or I'm doing this or whatever. So you're like, you know, like we're playing video games, which is a pleasure-seeking thing. And in between the video games, you're like doing micro pleasure-seeking things.
Man, it's so
and I was
bad.
like, come on, man, just be present with me. Let's just play a game and have a bit of fun. And that's that you're not 100% off because the video games is my complete off and you put everything away or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
People are contacting me. It's like, no, this is my time. I'm done. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's just interesting that it's like, again, it's just so normalized that it's like I'm scrolling now and I'm doing this now, I'm doing that. So you're just in this constant cycle of like looking for different things, and it's like it's just normalized. And this is the point that I'm really hitting on is that now that I'm kind of starting to be outside of that for a short period of time, and I have no doubt I'll be sucked straight back into this when I'm done with this little self experiment. That you really start to see that it's like there's just another state of being that you can get to, which is much more present. That you can't attain when you're in this state because a lot of your dopamine and serotonin is being sucked out of you through these different things. And 100%. It's this constant addiction cycle, as you say. Yeah.
And that's it, man. And like I've noticed, you know, that other day, that example you gave was prime, but other people I've been around recently, I've found myself being a bit more like frustrated and snappy, and a bit more kind of like on edge about things. Like, let's do this, we have to do this. And like, I've always been very OCD about things and very particular about everything, but I have actually noticed like a chemical change almost in my body where obviously the dopamine is, you know, being depleted from me using all of these dopamine high activities. And then when I'm trying to be present, I'm still on edge. And I've noticed that creeping in more than ever because after that episode with Benjamin Hardy, I really tried to implement that 100% off rule for a couple of weeks there. And I was like, I'm feeling really good about it. And then I started getting really productive. And in my head, I've justified it as, you know, I need to be as productive as I can. I need to do as much as I can. But then all of these pleasure-seeking activities have then crept in. And I definitely have noticed a change in myself, which I'm actually like not happy about at all. So that's something that...
So what are you going to do about it?
Well, I'm going to do a podcast about it and then do nothing about it. No, I really want to, I love that 100% off rule. I think that's something I want to start implementing. And the other day, I turned my phone completely off and just watched a movie with my girlfriend. That was great.
Never watch movies with just me anymore.
No, I know. It's because it's just too much, you know? Too much dopamine going on. I don't know. But yeah, so it's like something that I'm aware of, but I think like similar to the imposter syndrome thing, like if you can actually put a name to it or if you can recognize it, it makes it a little bit more manageable. So if I wasn't addressing this and if we weren't talking about it now, it would just get away from me. I've seen it happen before. It already has got away. And right now in this current state, I'm not happy with the balance I have in my life. Where the stark contrast is you're now going through dopamine depletion. So I guess like I'm curious about that for you. Like, what kind of things have you noticed more so now that you're like depleting dopamine?
For sure. So it's this is one of the downsides of the challenge that I'm doing right now, because I've cut out 7 different things. So no coffee. I'm working out every single day. So not cut out this, cut out and added in. No alcohol, meditating for 30 minutes a day. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly, but I know for sure the hardest thing is the no dopamine thing. But so yeah, can't attribute this essentially just to that thing. But basically I'm definitely much more present. The no coffee thing, I'm like 2 weeks in now, so that's kind of slowly out of my system now. It's definitely not fully out. I still have headaches every so often. But yeah, it's I'm definitely noticing that I'm much more present. And the other thing is, just because I don't have the option to do it, because I've got this forcing function where I'm not allowed to do it because I'm doing a challenge. I sit outside in the sun every day and eat my breakfast when I'm at work, and either listen to a podcast or just nothing, and you're just there. You're just there, and you're just eating, and you're just present.
Yeah.
So without diving too much into this, because I'll cover it in like a 40-minute video on my YouTube channel. If you want to check that out, out in a few weeks. But yeah, I'm definitely noticing that I'm much more present, and I think that's partly because just a lot of these, like the levels of all these, dopamine and serotonin, it's just much more balanced kind of thing, because it's not being constantly dragged away and depleted from all these different little like hits and spikes and things ripping it away from me kind of thing. So
that's it, man.
And this is like the hardest thing, like I'm a marketer, right? I'm a video marketer. Like I'm working on computers and on my phone all day, and I have to use these social media like apps so that I can actually market for clients, and so that I can post videos for clients and that kind of thing. So it's kind of like that is actually a part of my world, which is another step forward. And honestly, a lot of people in the digital age, they're working with computers, even if they're traders and stuff, they're working with their phones. Like it's an integrated part of their job and daily life. So actually expelling all this stuff is really, really hard, because it's like you physically can't kind of get out of it. So I think when I go back to it, it's not going to be completely out of my life, but comes back to, a lot of what we kind of talk about is this awareness basically. And this is what we're trying to cultivate through MetaMinds. It's just self-awareness. It's basically see it for what it is.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Just watch yourself. You go, oh, I'm doing that thing there.
Yeah.
Doing that thing there. And just be aware of it. And that might allow you to take a step to be like, oh, I don't really deserve this. I need to stop doing this right now. Let's go and exercise or something. Let's go do some skipping or some push-ups or something instead.
Yeah.
Get some dopamine because earn it.
That's it, man. And it's interesting for me as well, because when it comes to observing my reaction to things and observing how these massive conglomerates like Facebook, who obviously own Instagram as well, how they will subtly add these little things that will grab you in even deeper and release even more dopamine and make you feel this special, wonderful little warm feeling. And a prime example of a new thing that Instagram did is now when you double tap on a message in a private message and you like someone's message, you now get an animation and a buzz where hearts come up.
Yeah.
And the first time that happened, I had a smile on my face. Now that's not good, right? Like if I recognize that's so bad that I'm actually like getting a bit of pleasure, and I like little things anyway. You know how like
for sure.
That little OCD
like
thing.
Really cool.
But like the fact that I felt something from that, I was like, ooh, that I recognize, and I was kind of like, okay, I need to like calm down a little bit on like what I'm doing here, because that is just not helpful at all. Like, why am I getting pleasure? That's pure pleasure seeking from an animation on an app.
Well, and just to dive into that a little bit deeper again from my kind of marketing background, is that it's like the reason they implement these little things is because they know that is like giving you a reward, and because they want you to stay on their platform for as long as possible, because the longer you're on their platform, the more ads you will see and the more ad revenue they get. It's just that simple.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're working nonstop about trying to keep your attention. So this is like social media. We're talking a lot about social media.
Yeah.
But food as well. Honestly, and sugar is in everything. It's so hard to eat clean. But if you can eat whole fruits and vegetables a lot, it's like obviously you'll benefit a lot from that. And I'm trying to implement a lot of those things as well.
Yeah, definitely. And even in terms of like the over-sexualized content that you see as well through these ads and through advertisements.
And even on video games.
Like you see it everywhere, don't you? So that's another thing that
they're just trying to capitalize on that urge to reproduce,
urge,
really.
yeah.
So
exactly.
Anyway, we could probably ramble on about it for quite a long time, but I think we've covered pretty much it in a nutshell. Are you seeking pleasure? And when you are you asking yourself, did I deserve this? It's just that simple, really. And it's hard. Like, it's you're not going to be perfect at it. We're not perfect at it. We suck at it. Obviously, we've just kind of gone through that. But the thing is cultivating this self-awareness on a day-to-day basis and doing your best to recognize when you are doing that and not do it when you realize you don't have to.
That's it. And just recognizing if pleasure seeking is actually like destroying or impacting on your life. As I reflected on, it's something that's actually now starting to affect my other social interactions with friends and with loved ones.
Yeah,
Like,
you're really awkward, dude.
I know.
You need
And
to
it's
sort your
so
life
annoying.
out.
It's ever since those love hearts came in.
Well, just to dive into that, actually, like, it's been proven with like porn and a lot of other things. It's like, it actually does make you socially awkward because you are getting these huge waves of pleasure over and over again. And that kind of allows, that sends signals to your brain to say, hey, you get to relax now because you worked hard to get to this point to get this pleasure.
Exactly.
And if you're having this pleasure over and over and over and over and over again when you haven't like earned it, that's going to make you very socially inept.
And
Is that the right word? I don't know.
I
Numb.
think, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's a really good word for it. And that's also another huge thing that I'm learning kind of coming out of this is that it's like when I say present, I'm also just much more like here with conversations and I'm like flowing with conversations. And I feel like it's almost this magic thing where it's like, I would encourage anyone to give it a go. Look up some YouTube videos on dopamine fasts or whatever. And even if you just minimize, delete some apps off your phone or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But thanks for listening, guys. It's a bit of a journey, this episode. We realized that Dan is a very flawed human being and I'm perfect. But that's how it's always been. That's how it's always going to continue to be.
Yep.
Make sure to leave us a review on iTunes or anywhere else because it'll take you 30 seconds and it really, 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 really helps us. And we would love for you to do that.
Yeah, but we're not seeking pleasure.
We're not.
Not at all.
No, we're seeking status.
Yeah.
Damn it. Oh,
Damn.
this isn't a self-development podcast at all. Okay, sweet. Thanks for watching or listening, guys.